I caused a bit of a stir recently with my video last week where I made a pretty bold prediction about who I think will go up automatically. Second, Norwich City. They have a lot of firepower at Norwich and are playing some beautiful football under their new manager, Johannes Hoff Thorup. Am I getting carried away after their recent form? I genuinely don't think I am, because they're getting better and better at a frightening pace. And this is your warning right now. Do not sleep on Norwich City this season. Norwich City have been the very definition of a yo-yo club for many years now. Since the year 2000, they've enjoyed promotion to the Premier League on 5 occasions. But out of those 5 promotions, there's only been one where they went up and didn't instantly come back down. It's been a fine balancing act for Norwich over the years, where they've been wanting to make that next step up while also not overstretching themselves. For a long time, they've been stuck as the 20th best club in the country. Now they're looking to have another crack at it, but this time stay there. And I've got to say, it feels a bit different this time around. Let me explain why. I'm Ryan Dilks from the second tier, and here's how Norwich City are going to stop being a yo-yo club. First up is the ownership, and we'll start off with the woman who's been the face of Norwich City for years, Delia Smith. Don't play the video. Don't play the video. Don't play... Oh, go on then. She has been criticised over the years by opposition fans, but Norwich City may not exist if it wasn't for Delia Smith. She saved the club when they were in real trouble back in the 90s, and since then she's made sure that they never overstretch themselves. Unfortunately, that is one of the chief reasons why Norwich have struggled to make an impact in the Premier League, because while many clubs have spent big when they've got there, it's led to them also paying for it if they didn't get the success that they were after. Delia Smith has made sure that would never happen with Norwich. However, after 27 years, she's set to hand over control of the club in 2025. It's being taken over by Mark Atanasio. He's an American businessman who's already a part owner of Norwich. He's estimated to be worth over £500 million and also owns the Milwaukee Brewers baseball team in America. As brilliant a job as Delia Smith has done over the years, Norwich City as a club have been crying out for extra investment for quite some time, because it's been a clear obstacle in them making the next step. Now, it doesn't seem like Atanasio is going to be throwing money around when he does take control of Norwich. In fact, with the Milwaukee Brewers, they've been more data-led in their approach and not particularly overspending themselves. So you can expect that to continue at Norwich, but it certainly helps him having deeper pockets than Delia. I think that's fair to say. So Norwich should have more resources available, but will they be spending them right? That brings me on to step 2 of the project, the sporting director. For years, Norwich had a guy called Stuart Webber in charge. He had previously been at Huddersfield and played a big role in getting them to the Premier League. He moved to Norwich in 2017, and in his first couple of seasons at Norwich, he did possibly as good a job as any sporting director has ever done at this level. He appointed Daniel Farke, who would oversee 2 promotions at Carrow Road and make some of the best signings ever seen at Championship level, including Timu Pukki on a free transfer, Emi Buendia for just over £1 million, and Kenny McLean for 300 grand. Webber played an absolute blinder and revitalised the club with the business he did in those first 2 seasons. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold, although his decision making became very hit or miss as time got on, particularly in the Premier League, which is another reason why Norwich have struggled to stay in the top flight. The 2 biggest examples of that are Christos Solis, a Greek winger who they spent £9 million on. He started just 3 games for them in the 21-22 Premier League season, and also Milat Rashica, who they spent £9 million on as well. He was a Kosovan attacker who managed just 1 goal and 2 assists in that same Premier League campaign. Don't get me wrong, Webber still had some hits. Gabriel Sara, Boya Sainz, Josh Sargent, all of these guys signed on his watch, but as time got on, he was making more dud signings than good signings. And it wasn't just players where his judgment was becoming incredibly questionable, it was managers as well. The incredibly popular Daniel Farke was sacked in 2021, and it meant Norwich were looking for a new manager for the first time in years. According to reports, Webber initially wanted to get Frank Lampard, but they ended up getting Dean Smith, and it's fair to say he never endeared himself to Norwich fans and will be sacked after just over a year in the job. David Wagner will then come in after that. He used to work with Webber at Huddersfield, and even though he would get Norwich into the playoffs in his second season, he was never the most popular at Carrow Road either. The reason I'm telling you all this is because Stuart Webber, while he did a lot of good for Norwich initially, it was becoming clear that they needed a fresh strategy, a fresh set of eyes, and a new way of going about things. So it was good news for all parties when Webber announced that he was leaving last year, particularly after some high-profile comments which we won't get into. He was replaced by Ben Knapper, who was previously the loans manager at Arsenal, as well as a football analyst before that. Now, it's still very early on in his days at Norwich City, but he's put his imprint on the club quickly. They spent around £20 million in the summer just gone, mostly on young players from abroad. So Knapper clearly has a great deal of knowledge when it comes to finding talent from across the continent. It seems like he thinks there's much more value for money there when it comes to getting players from abroad, and the fact he's targeting young players is also a thumbs up from me, because that means that he thinks there's resale value, and I always think that's a very clever way of going about doing your business, because look at some of the best run clubs in the country. That's how they do these things. It's too early to say how these players will do, whether they will be a success, but you have to admire the strategy and the ambition of Ben Knapper, particularly when it comes to the manager as well, which brings me on to step 3 of the project. This video is brought to you by our good friends at SBK. If you haven't heard of them yet, then where have you been? SBK's comprehensive range of markets and exclusive offers makes it the best place to bet on the Championship this season. Whether you're creating an accumulator or customizing your bet builder, SBK has got you covered. Don't believe us? Sign up today and find out. I'm not sure there's ever been a club like Norwich who have smashed the Championship as much as they did, but then absolutely bombed when they got to the Premier League, let alone do it twice. And it's got to be said, they were amazing in their 2 recent promotions under Daniel Farke. You could argue that the team who got promoted in 2019 in particular were one of the best teams we've ever seen at Championship level, which makes it all the more confusing that they were so bad in the Premier League. Now, a lot of that in the first season was down to a lack of money being spent and poor recruitment in general. Another part of that has to be Daniel Farke. As great a manager as he is in the Championship, I think he has tactical limitations at the top level. So if Norwich are going to be a success in the long term, they need someone who can take them there and keep them there. Just days after losing in the playoffs, Ben Knapper sacked David Wagner to get in his own man, Johannes Hoff Thorup. The 35-year-old had been getting rave reviews for the job he did at Nordsjælland in Denmark. They finished 9th in the season before he was appointed, and then came 2nd in his first full season. He plays exciting attacking football with young players, and a great example of that is in November last year. Nordsjælland beat Fenerbahce 6-1 in the Europa Conference League, and 9 of the starting 11 were academy graduates. So he's got a clear track record of taking young players and developing them, as well as playing great football. But the exciting thing here, from my perspective, is how Knapper moved quickly to get Thorup in. He clearly regards him highly as a coach and sees him as the perfect man to lead the club into this new era because of how keen he was to get him in. Will he be a long-term success, Thorup? Has he got what it takes to be a Premier League manager? Who knows at this stage? What is evident, though, is that Norwich have a clear plan now with Ben Knapper in charge for how they're going to do things, and that is exciting. That brings me on to the 4th and final step, the players. As mentioned earlier, Norwich have been targeting young players under Ben Knapper. In fact, the oldest player that they signed this summer was 23-year-old Jose Cordoba, a Panama international defender from Levski Sofia. The most notable addition, though, was 20-year-old Ante Cernak, a Croatian attacker who they spent over £9 million on this past summer. None of the new players who they brought in on permanent deals have really got properly going yet, but it's exciting seeing Norwich take this ambitious strategy to signing players, and it looks like they are getting better at the same time, and it means that they're being added to this talented pool of players they've already got. Angus Gunn was probably the best goalkeeper in the Championship last season and is still only 28. Young Kellen Fisher has massively impressed at right back so far. Marcelino Nunes has developed into one of the best midfielders in the division, while Kenny McLean has been Mr. Reliable in the middle of the park for Norwich. You could make a good argument that Josh Sargent is the best striker in the Championship and really should be playing in the Premier League, but the standout player this season has been Boya Sainz. The Spanish winger has arguably been the best player in the Championship so far and is joint top scorer in the league at the time of recording. You add in the loan talent they've also brought in over the summer, like Callum Doyle and Cade Gordon. There's a lot of talent in Norwich's ranks, and this is a squad with a lot of potential to not only get better over the coming years, but possibly to surprise people this season. And this is what Norwich have got to do to stop themselves being a yo-yo club and make the step up. It's still very early days in the Ben Knapper era at Carrow Road, but he's laying some very exciting foundations, a clear recruitment plan, more financial backing, a young talented coach with a clear philosophy. I'm getting sort of Brentford vibes with Norwich. It wouldn't surprise me if the next time they're in the Premier League they stay there. And as I said in the last video, don't be surprised if they actually go and do it this season, because something is bubbling in Norfolk and it's very exciting. So this has been how Norwich City are stopping themselves from being a yo-yo club. Do you think things will be different next time when they're in the Premier League? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been Dilks from the second tier, and we'll be back again very soon.